Oh, and we are back. Yeah. Another episode of FYB presents the Ivy League.
Ha ha!
That's right. That's right. Listen, I guess I can check this headphones off. Yeah, man, we're here. It's been a long time coming.
Right.
We're back. Let's just not even waste no time right now. Let's just go ahead and do introductions. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and start it off. It's your boy Joe Spider, FYB. I represent the fresh.
Rich City.
That's a fact. And today I'm rocking a couple of different things. You know what I'm saying? Right now I got the, you feel me? Honestly, I don't know what hat this is. I bought it from somebody at a spot, but I promise you it's minority owned. But I also got the Title Man shirt. You know what I'm saying? I'm rocking that. The Title Man. So shout out to my boys. You know what I'm saying? E and Ant. And then I also got the PLP, Peace, Love, and Positivity brand shorts on. I'm rocking that. So shout out to my mans. And we here. I'm excited to be here. You feel me? So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to my mans. You know what I mean?
What's happening? We back. What's up with FYB Reads? Big Reads now. You know what I'm saying?
So we back with it. Man, it's been a while since the last time we've talked. You know what I'm saying? On the podcast, since the last time we've gotten together, it's actually been 2 years, believe it or not.
Damn, for real?
Yeah, it was 2021.
Sheesh.
Nah.
Yeah, bro, it was 2021.
Nah, January last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah.
2022? Nah.
The January, yeah. It was
Was
from
it
the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
January.
But it's still a year and a half though.
That's
That's
right.
still crazy.
Yeah, that's still,
Yeah,
almost
long.
a year and a half ago. So since the last time, so I just want to kind of ask everybody what y'all been up to. You know what I'm saying since we last came together. You feel me? Because it's like it's been a while. Obviously, this not the last. It's not the first time we've come together together as
Right.
Yeah,
we
kicking
actually
it.
boys. We actually kick it. But what have y'all been up to since, like, as far as like FYB wise, like on your own personal stuff? You know, so like what are you doing in life? Because we always FYB together. We always we're always friends. We've hung out before, but what have you been doing in your individual life to let the people know? You know what I mean? Like, what's up?
Man, it's been a lot of changes for me, man.
You know, heavy in the married life now. You know, focusing more on priorities for the household. You know what I'm saying? And then I've been coaching a lot more, being a mentor to a lot of these young athletes now. So I've been heavy in that the past 2 years. And then, like y'all said, just growing mentally, physically, and spiritually, man. Just finding your cause. You know what I'm saying? And continue to elevate at the end of the day. You know, knowledge is power, but really the application of knowledge is power. So just keep continuing to read and learn, and just continue to grow.
I think I like what you said about being a mentor. Like now that I'm getting older,
Mhm.
I'm starting to look at the people under me differently. You
Yeah.
know, when I was like, 21, 22, I didn't, I was just doing my thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm like just trying to figure out how to manage just being me. But as I get older, I start to think and I start to realize like how my actions affect the people that's watching me, the people that's looking up to me. So being a good example to the world, that's not something I thought about when I was younger. So yeah, like we said, being a mentor, that's something that I just like naturally. I think we all kind of like naturally stepped into that role of just who we want to be, not just for us, but how it looks as us, especially being Black men. So yeah, no, I like that.
I don't think we really realize sometimes the older we get, like, especially with all of us being like leaders, we have to remember people are watching us. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's a good reminder, like when you bring up mentorship, like, like it's younger, for me, like young people, you feel me, that's looking at us now, you know what I'm saying? Watching how we move, how we do things, and really realizing like, kids who are like 18 and 19 years old, like how observant, some of them are. And I don't think that we really catch on to that till they start doing some things that we was doing, and they did it just by like watching. You know what I mean? Like literally. So it's important to keep in mind how we carrying ourselves, how we make our decisions, how we conduct ourselves in front of those young people. All that stuff is like important. You know what I mean? So I think that that's when I talk about like my maturity level. It's just I take that into consideration of how I'm moving and realizing that there's somebody who's like observing. You know what I mean?
Facts.
No, you never know. There's somebody always watching.
So obviously there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on, what I'm saying, lately, in today's society, like a lot of stuff. And so I think, it's cool for us to kind of address it a little more. I guess we give an update to our life.
Rewind.
Bro. Get down, Simba. All right, go over there for me, please. Appreciate it. So honestly, man, I've just been, really just living, man. Obviously, new job, definitely, so I'm right there with you, Reeves. New job, new pay, new responsibilities.
Come on, give an update on your you feel me, your education, man.
Oh man,
yeah, you tripping, bro? Come on, bro. 1%er, bro.
Okay, your boy finished his master's. Finally got my master's in education with a concentration in behavioral science and gender equity studies.
Yes, sir.
So got a chance to walk that stage, have a family there to support, friends there to support. So it's a beautiful thing. A lot of my research was specifically on Black men and the representation that we have in higher education, and talking about that and how students from K through 12, young Black men don't really see themselves represented in education. And so for me, it was really important to get that perspective out there. Want to do that research, but then to get more information as much as I can, but to get it out there to let people know, look, bro, our numbers are down. Black men make up less than 3% of higher education teachers. It's Black faculty, staff, administrators, less than 3%. And that's just higher education. As we talk about going into K through 12, it's a lot less. So, it's really important for us to do what we can to to help increase the amount of people that are seeing Black men in education. From a K through 12 standpoint, from a higher ed standpoint. So it felt good, man. Thank you for reminding me about that. But honestly, bro, it's just maturing. You know what I mean? In life, I think it's been tough because there's a lot of different things going on personally. That some stuff I don't choose to address via online. I see my brother Jade in the comments in the chat, man. Good to see you, bro. See Billy, appreciate you rocking. I see Uncle Kev, you know what I'm saying? KB rocking, appreciate you. But for me, I think it's just been a lot of trial and error, man. A lot of trying to figure out life and understanding that I don't have it all figured out, and I'm not supposed to have it all figured out. But sometimes when we there was this post that I saw a while ago that I ended up posting as well. It's where it says, don't forget that you prayed for the position that you're in now. Something like that sense, you know. It's like I think sometimes I get so caught up in trying to do what's next, like or see what's next. Like what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? That I never really stop and appreciate where I am.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So I think over these past year and a half, I've gotten a lot of self-reflection. I'm already like a critical person myself. I always self-reflect quite a bit, but I think I have the opportunity to do that in isolation. You know what I'm saying? And to really sit back with my own thoughts and think about where I am and be thankful. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm not where I want my goal to be, because I'm always thinking about what's next. This time I got an opportunity to sit back and say, hey, bro, like, look at what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at where you've come from. I remember I used to pray for times like this to rise like this.
Right.
So I think I just got that opportunity to do so, and I was just blessed. So just a lot of growth, a lot of learning. Like I said, new position, new education. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna keep it real. My goal is to apply for my doctorate, to start working on that. So I'm gonna try to apply for next year. I'm still figuring out different programs that I'm looking at, but that's the long-term goal, is to eventually be able to, they can call me Dr. Greer. You know what I'm saying, when it's all said and done. So I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in. And so, I like it. You know what I mean? I like it. So, man, I think, so this obviously has been a while, so we still kind of, fresh, getting retrained to the podcast. You know what I'm saying? The podcast scene.
And it's a different format, too.
Yeah, it's a completely different format for sure. Thank you. We appreciate StreamYard, you know what I'm saying, for hooking it up and giving us the opportunity to use that platform. It's been amazing. So let us know what y'all think about the different angles. Do y'all want all camera angles at once, or do y'all want just a particular some? So let us know how you feel. This is our first time doing it on StreamYard. I got to shout out my boy Devon and so homegirl Sinclair, because they're the ones that put me on StreamYard and all that stuff. And we're definitely planning on having them on the IIV podcast for sure.
Black Wall Street.
Play Black Wall Street.
Hey, time out. We got y'all right here, man.
Hey,
come on, man. Come on, man.
Board game. You feel me? Here. You know what I mean? But so it's a blessing. Simba, can you get down, please? I got a dog too. So in case you didn't know. All right, over there. Go home. So, but it's just been a blessing. But there's obviously a couple of things I want to touch on. You know what I mean? I think that's important in life. Some things that happened in our community recently. So one of the things I think is important to talk about, just not too long, because I don't want to turn this into a super political type of podcast or anything like that. But we got to talk about affirmative action being struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court, and kind of what that means. So essentially, if you're not familiar with the law, affirmative action basically guaranteed that you could utilize, or not guaranteed, but it allowed colleges and universities to utilize race, ethnicity, and things like that to determine eligibility, as components to determine eligibility for universities. And so there are a lot of people who got the opportunity to go to college because of that. Now, it doesn't mean that they were not qualified to attend that particular college. It doesn't mean that at all. But instead, what it means is that universities had the ability to utilize the fact that someone was a non-white applicant, or somebody was a non-traditional applicant in regards to ethnicity and race, to diversify their incoming admitted pool. And so with the U.S. Supreme Court choosing to close that, or choosing to cancel essentially affirmative action, what that means is that universities are going to get more white. You know what I mean? They're going to get more white, and that's just a fact. And the part that kind of frustrates me, so we in California have kind of been going through this already with Prop 209 that passed back in 1996, which stopped us from using race and ethnicity as a state for CSU and UC, so for public university admissions criteria. So we're kind of familiar with this already, but if you pay attention to the data, what you saw back in the 90s was when Prop 209 happened, all of these different universities saw their Black enrollment decrease, all of them, across the campuses, right? And so campuses are now trying to get their way back up, or fight their way back up from being, that Prop 209. And so what we're going to see nationwide is that we're going to see that effect now right, across the nation and not just in California. But the part that frustrates me with this particular decision is the fact that this individual, I think his last name is Wang, Mr. Wang, who basically, I guess he applied to a variety of different schools. Some of them he didn't get into. Some of these Ivy League schools he didn't get into. And then they found that Black people or minorities got into these particular colleges, even though they had less SAT or lower SAT test scores than he did. And so my frustration with that is okay, so you have no problem with athletes, right, who don't meet the same eligibility requirements, who don't have high enough test scores. You have no problem with those individuals being admitted into universities simply because they're athletes. You have no problem with legacy members, right? So people whose dad's dad went to that school, and the only reason they got it because they have lower SAT scores, lower GPAs, right? But the only reason they got in is because their parents are donors. You have no problem with that, but you have an issue with it being diversity, right? You have a problem with African Americans or Latinx people or you have a problem with those individuals getting admitted into the college, but you have no problem with the other. So you have no problem with the former, huge problem with the latter. So that's my frustration with it, is that like it almost seems as like you're saying color is the issue, nothing else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know what's y'all's take on it. I know we don't want to talk too much about it, but what's y'all's take on it as far as like what the Supreme Court decided? And it's interesting, real quick, that Judge Clarence Thomas and Judge Ketanji Brown, I think that's her name, if I'm not pronouncing it right, I truly apologize. Supreme Court Justice Brown, I apologize. But they both got into Ivy League schools because of affirmative action. Not to say that that's the only reason they got into the schools, but they both got in because of affirmative action. So the frustrating thing is like now you, as a Supreme Court judge, decide that affirmative action isn't cool, but you would have probably never been a judge if it wasn't for that particular thing. So what's y'all's take on that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Go home.
Home, Simba. Home.
My thing is like when it comes to like affirmative action and these, different laws and stuff being put in place, like people act like it wasn't so bad that they had to create a law to give opportunities to people. Mm-hmm. Now, if we want to say, okay, well, let's just go for who's the most qualified, who's the best. Okay, I'm for that. But we know that that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there's qualified people that don't get a chance because of color, gender, whatever it could be. There's reasons why certain opportunities aren't given. So that's why we put these different stipulations in place to give people a chance. And it's like people are complaining, having issues with it, but they're not even acknowledging the fact that it's not fair. That's the whole reason why we're trying to make it more fair across the globe. So like, I don't know. To me, it's not surprising. Like if I'm being real, I'm not surprised that, if you check the climate of, culture and the way like society and race wars and all that have been kind of building a little more like to the forefront, it's not surprising to me. But if we don't have rules and regulations like that, it could be a slippery slope. I don't know. That's pretty much my take on it.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, I don't really got like a lot of y'all hit on like a lot of good points already, so I only got too much to say. But I mean, it just goes to show nobody cares, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like nobody cares. Like we're moving backwards. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just the way I looked at it. And I just think sometimes we get so caught up in our everyday life. It's like, it's just a reminder, when something like that happens, of the country that we're in and how things are literally set up for people of color to not have a harder time to get an education or be successful. Like it's not a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's not fair. Clearly it's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's not really surprising to me. And it's just another wake-up call. It's another reminder of why we got to stay on it. You know what I mean?
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't we at an all-time high for enrollment in college for minorities now?
I'm not sure if it's at an all-time high at this point. I don't know. But I know that more people have been graduating college than ever before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And getting into college too, right?
Exactly.
As minorities.
Yeah.
So it's like y'all said, like things like that happen. It's like just another reminder that, you got to look at the country that we're in And then like to Dee's point about like the athletes, of course they're not gonna say nothing about the athletes because what do the athletes do? They generate money, right? So we already know that. But then when you talk about it being fair and it goes to the best person, the most qualified person possible, it's still unfair when you look at the grand scheme of things, because we got a lot of these minority kids who don't have the money, the resources to enter in these programs, you know, as an undergrad, not an undergrad, but as a high school student, or have money for tutors and things like that, or their school is an inner city school that doesn't have a lot of resources. That even makes the qualifications harder for them to even compete with these other people or these other kids that have tutors, they have money, they have a high graduation rate, high enrollment rate in college. So all these things play into a factor. So there's no fair way to make it competitive until you have something like affirmative action. So it's tough. Like, so when things like this go backwards, it's like, how do we move forward from this, right? You know, how do we mitigate this problem? And we don't have the answer yet, but it's like there has to be things that make it fair, right? Because right now it's not, and it's clearly showing because of the Supreme Court's ruling. So it's just going to be tough, but it's another thing that we got to, you know, overcome and do better at. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things that we got to rewrite history and keep moving forward. So
no doubt. Yeah, so I mean, man, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. You know what I mean? But right now, it doesn't look good.
Not at
it doesn't
all.
look good. It is what it is at this point. At the end of the day, one thing I know about people of color, Black people specifically, is that we're gonna find a way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So regardless of what, you know what I'm saying, the judge decides to do, you know, regardless of what is legal or not, at the end of the day, you know, Black people will find a way to overcome and to thrive and succeed, as we've done for hundreds of, actually really for tens of thousands of years if you go back to the history. So yeah, it's unfortunate. But another thing that I did want to talk about, an unfortunate situation, right, that caused people to lose their life. And I'm talking about the Travis Rudolph case, right? Where, if you're not familiar with Travis Rudolph's case, what happened was Travis Rudolph was dating a woman who happened to be married to someone else at the time. And he was text messaging someone else, and she went through his phone and found the text message and then began assaulting him both verbally and physically. And when he tried to restrain her, she fell, and she was upset, and she left and, you know, said a bunch of stuff, and she said that she was going to send her brother, you know, to really teach him a lesson. And then her brother and their friends came to the place, and in the process of them being on their way there, she told them that, you know, to shoot his stuff up. I'll quote, "shoot his shit up" is the words that she used. And so they got there, they started fighting. Well, they jumped Travis Rudolph and his brother in front of his home, and then Travis Rudolph got his gun and began to fire, and he ended up shooting and killing one individual and shooting the other, 2 of the 4 individuals. So it was the courts found, or a jury found him not guilty on 4 counts. I think it was for 3 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of murder, and so he is now a free man. And it's unfortunate that this circumstance happened, but at the same time, it's a reality. And so I don't want to just brush over the fact that, you know, a person lost their life. You know, I'm not gonna say an innocent person, because I don't, you know, they obviously went there for trouble, but a person lost their life. And so it's unfortunate, but I do think that we need to kind of have a conversation about what's happening in regards to relationships, right? But what's y'all's take on it so far? You know, give y'all perspective. Anybody can, you know, kind of.
I mean, I'll start off on it. I mean, I think for one, you know, it's good to have platforms like this, like a podcast. You know, shout out to the Pivot. You know what I mean, for being able to allow him to really tell his story in a very humane way. That's number one, but it also sheds light on what a lot of these, not just high profile athletes, but Black athletes go through, especially with these relationships. You know what I mean? It was an unfortunate situation, but you know, it sucks to see somebody have to go through that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine being in his situation. It happened to really, it was really him trying to, you know, protect his life at the moment. You know, this is a life or death situation where, like, if he doesn't go grab this gun, they're probably going to kill him. You know what I mean? And so,
And his brother and his mother.
yeah, his family was there. That's why it's important to like really know it. Like, he had to defend his family. It was either my family or you. He chose his family. You know what I mean? So for him to be on trial now, you know, essentially fighting for his life, you know, these were some serious, serious charges that he was up against. You know what I mean? And he's not the only athlete that goes through stuff like this. You know what I mean? There are a lot of athletes who really don't get to tell their story like that about what happened. I think that was just the craziest thing to me. I'm like, how is he on trial for, you know what I mean, in a stand your ground state, you know what I'm saying, to be fighting for his life, basically. So I just think it really does shed a light on what some of these athletes go through. Like, they're human, you know what I mean? Like, they go through things, you know what I mean? He had a lot of mental health issues, dealt with a lot of death in his family, and then to be dealing with this, it's like, man, like, it just sheds light on what a lot of, you know, these professional athletes, you know, go through in their everyday life.
I'll even take it a step further. It's just what people go through, period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's more high profile, like, so, you know, because he was athlete, we know about the story, but like, you know, let's be real. You know, where I come from, that happens a lot. You know what I'm saying? The relationship argument turns into a fight or issue, a problem, or something like this, and next thing you know, somebody loses their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's the whole situation is kind of out of bounds. You know what I'm saying? As far as she's married, but she's messing with him, he's messing with another girl. You know, it's just like, that's relationship stuff. Now, why does an argument or issue or whatever turn to death? Why does it have to go into, like, I have to kill you? I want you to get hurt. I want you to die because of an argument. So it's like, a lot of times the anger and the frustration of relationships, it causes people to make certain decisions. And I don't think people really think fully, especially when they're angry, upset. You're not really thinking like, wait, no, this could change my entire life. That text message changed her entire life.
Yeah.
Sending that text message out, it not only changed her life, but it changed the people, everybody that was involved. And a couple people, well, one person lost their life. You know what I'm saying? All because of anger.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay, just because you're mad don't mean you stop thinking. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that whole, and then the fact that he's got to go on trial, and he could have literally got life for protecting his family and himself. Yeah. And it's like, that's just a tough situation. It's just a tough situation to see people go through that. And it's like, I like that it was a high profile situation because you get to hear it. Because when it's happening in the hood, or when it's happening, you know, wherever where it's not a high profile person, it just happens. That person either goes to jail or they don't, and then it's swept under the rug. Yeah. Now we got to see the whole entire thing and then let him explain it, so we see it more of like the full circle of what it was. So yeah, man, it's unfortunate, but you know, somebody lost their life, but I'm glad he didn't have to go to jail for that either. So
no,
yeah,
they're literally picking the right person in a situation like that can literally be life or death. That's literally what it came down to, picking and choosing the right partner, for real.
So I was gonna basically take the same angle that Reeves just took, and outside of it being messy and messing with a married person and all that, it's like the root cause of it was an emotional decision that turned bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's tough to say because like a lot of people, whether you realize it or not, like even myself sometimes, like a lot of people are just emotionally incompetent in certain things, like in the sense that you will not think rationally if you feel a certain type of way strongly about something, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're super happy, super mad, super sad, like whatever the case may be, like your emotions can dictate actions.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, you know, anger caused somebody else to act in a certain way that ended up in resulting in taking somebody's life. So like when you think about the root cause of it, it's like as humans, as individuals and relationships, not a relationship, whatever the case may be, we have to, be emotionally competent so that we can make rational decisions when we're in vulnerable emotional states. So when you go back and look at the context, it's like, man, it's like after all of that, she was mad at somebody for a certain action that ended up having somebody else take somebody else's life ultimately. You know what I'm saying? So when you look back at it, like it was essentially for no reason. Yeah. Because you were upset at the end of the day,
Right.
like when you take down the root cause. So it's like we got to learn to, to be emotionally grounded. Even I'm not saying you can't be mad or sad or whatever, but it's the actions that dictate from those emotions that can cause good or bad results. So it's just we need to do a better job at understanding, when to act on certain things when we're in an emotionally vulnerable state. So that's just the angle that I wanted to take from it rather than talk about the exact situation. It's like, because it's a bigger issue and it's not just this case. Like this happens more than often in every culture, every race. Like it's a thing that happens often. So it's something that as individuals and things you got to start thinking about. Like I know for me, I'm a project manager and I actually had to take an emotional intelligence test as part of a promotion. And like there was things that I never even thought about. So it's like people just aren't even aware. So it's like if you're not even aware, then you don't know if you're doing something wrong. If you don't know if you're doing something good, or you may not understand the situation at hand. So it's very important to just be emotionally stable and be able to make rational decisions when you're in an emotionally vulnerable state. So
let me ask y'all this: what do let's say you're a parent and you have an 18-year-old son or a 17-year-old son, especially in today's society with social media and everything else. How do you explain, or how would you think would be the best way to explain to a 17, 18-year-old kid how to navigate relationships today in these type of situations? Or even take it a step further. Let's say this kid is a 17-year-old senior in high school. He just committed to the University of Georgia. He's a 5-star recruit. How do you tell them how to handle things like this? How do you tell them to deal with, the women that's going to come their way being at a Power 5 school, how to deal with the money, all the attention that they're going to get? Like, what would be your advice to like those young kids?
Well, if it's my son, by the time he turns 17, 18, we're going to have 17, 18 years worth of preparing him for moments, and one thing that I feel like we don't really think about with social media is how desensitized we are to everything. Like we don't like stuff doesn't have the same value or the same like hit that it used to because we see so much. It's crazy. Like I'll go on Instagram and I'll literally see a picture of or somebody at a funeral, somebody just died, and the next video is somebody laughing or somebody joking or somebody playing. You see and so when you have that over and over for years, and man, these young kids are, because we're older and we're still in social media. And look, we on a podcast right now, and we didn't grow up with it. So think about the kids who from elementary school they have an Instagram or a TikTok or whatever account. They're going to be so desensitized that it takes these interactions. It takes the face-to-face, the man-to-man to help them understand the difference. Like that social world, it is a world. Socially, that is a thing. But in your day-to-day, the way you interact and the value that you put into people and the value that they give back to you, that's what's going to really like determine who the kid is and what they're going to be. Now, if you're the type of parent to just let your phone raise your kid, then chances are whatever the climate of social media is, that's the climate that kid will have. But if you take the time, and it's not easy, you know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna be easy at all. But like, we have to get back to the parenting, like the actual interactions, the real interactions, face-to-face interactions, and build value and love and distill morals and stand on them for our kids. And in it, just not even our kids, but just the people under us, period. I think that's like, because it's no way to say like, oh, well, I'm just not having my kid, on social media. can't stop that.
Can't
bro.
stop that.
It's everywhere.
bro.
Can't stop
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
No, you can't.
It's everywhere. And even if they don't personally have it, one of their friends gonna have it, and they gonna have access to it. So you just gotta build the value within your kid and have that connection to try to, guide, and the trust. The kid, you gotta build the trust enough for your kid to even be able to listen to you when they got all of these things in their ear now. So yeah, man, that's a good question.
I do want to make sure we acknowledge shout out to my bro Scott, big time, out there in SoCal. And he said it's a good thing that he's not guilty. He said she should be arrested for causing the death and instigating the whole thing. And he also said, stop messing with married people. So I appreciate you, Scott, for tuning in and especially for commenting. I mean, I got much love for you, bro, for sure. But I think that's important. It's like if you go and if me and you decide we want to go rob a bank, we go rob a bank and we say everybody hands in the air, everybody on the ground right now. Everybody get on the ground. And while we robbing the bank, if I kill somebody and then we get caught, not only am I charged with the robbing the bank, but you're charged with murder as well, even though you didn't kill anybody, because the crime that you committed caused the murder, right? And even if it was an accident that the person got killed, right? You're still charged with murder because it was your crime that committed that in the first place. So how is it that this person, we have all the evidence that says that she literally texts, shoot his shit up, right?
Yep.
They go there with guns.
Right.
And somebody that went there to shoot his shit up ended up dying. How is she not charged? Now, it's almost kind of like the Tekashi 6ix9ine thing, right? When he goes pay $10,000 to have somebody shoot up Chief Keef or something like that, and then he goes and is like, well, I'm gonna testify against him. How do you not get charged? You were the one that paid the money that got all this stuff jumping in the first place. So I just didn't want to brush over that.
What that made me think about, but I didn't mean to cut you off. But what that made me think about was like when these women, it's an athlete, he's getting ready for the draft or whatever, or he's in the NFL, NBA, whatever, and these allegations of sexual assault, rape, all of that come up, and then in the process of whatever he has to go through, he loses his contract, he gets released, endorsements, all that gone, and then it comes out that it wasn't true. She just made it up. And then he has to, pick up the pieces of everything he lost, and then she just gets to go and live her life. And it's like, how come in those situations we don't have any consequences for those people? Like, it's to me like when he said, thank you, Scott, for saying that, because it's like, how do we not have consequences for people just making up? Because this is not just a regular lie. This is a lie that costs people their life, whether it be death or just my livelihood. I can't live the way I live because you just said something. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, man, that's a tough one.
Players as well, but you have to teach these young kids how to protect themselves, especially these young men as well. And I know one thing my pops told me at a young age when he was telling me, if you ever went to one of these schools or whatever, but just in general, when he was talking about them, you have to realize, people say, oh, well, they're young, they were 18, 19, they in college, they want to do this and that. You got to realize, especially for you kids that are going to these Power 5 schools and have committed, like, you are not a normal 18-year-old kid. That's the first thing you got to understand. You're not a normal 18, 19-year-old kid at this Power 5 school. You're playing, if you go to the college football playoff or you're in a primetime television game on ABC, you're playing in front of millions of people. And now with the NIL deal, some of you guys are millionaires at 17 years old, 18 years old. So there's a level of responsibility that comes with that to understand that, bro, you're not normal anymore. So therefore, you can't afford to make normal 18, 19-year-old mistakes. You can't afford it. You know what I mean? It's tough to say, but that's the fact of the matter. You have to mature a lot faster than the average 18-year-old kid who's just going to school. You know what I'm saying? And you can make some mistakes. You can make some bad choices. There's going to be certain things you can't do. You can't go to because of what you have to lose. I can't go to the party. I can't go out with these girls. I can't have your fun, but you really have to. It's really important to make sure the people that you got around you, you know what I mean, the type of crowd you're keeping around you, and the choices that you choose to make. You have to be willing to not go to certain things, knowing that there's what you have to lose, and that's tough for 18 and 19-year-old young men to understand. But I think if you can just get someone, and like you said, you got to have 17 to 18 years of preparing for this moment as well. Because I think whether you're an athlete or not, you still have to talk to your kids about things like that. But I just think when we're talking about trying to try our best to prevent things like this, it all boils down to choices. You know what I mean? Picking the right girl, realizing who's coming to you, making sure you're really getting to know this person, you know, realizing your platform, all of that is a big part of it.
That's tough though, bro.
It is.
Like, you know, because especially like if, you know, some of these kids, they just talented. You know, they just have this talent, but they may not have the support. They may not have the love. They may not have, you know, and everybody is looking at them to be everything. And so it's a lot of times you see situations where, you know, a kid, you know, because of what he's doing or how talented he is, everybody around him is just letting him be whatever. Like they're letting the kid be the leader because he's the talent. He's going to take us. So, hey, just do what you got to do. Just do what you got to do. And people become yes men and yes women to these young kids to where like you'll have a 17, 18, 9. And then let's be real now with the social media. You know how hard it is to talk to a 17, 18-year-old who has 1 million followers on Instagram.
Facts. 20K. Shoot.
Right. How much does Mikey have? How many?
Mikey Williams.
How many does he have?
A lot.
A
A
lot.
couple million though, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he's a young kid.
Yeah.
He's a young kid.
He
And
got in
it's
trouble. Shit.
Yeah, he just got
Shit.
caught up with because it's really man,
It's a fantasy
really,
lifestyle.
Yeah, and the more social media becomes prevalent and everything, the more everybody wants to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
We know regular people who literally live and document their life on social media as if they're celebrities.
Yeah.
So like just think about somebody who is actually a celebrity. Like, you know, they're trying to live up to it. And then if you don't have the right influences, if you don't have the right respect or love,
What would you tell them?
Yeah.
Like if you're a coach, right? Because you know you've been a coach in the past, like, and you're pretty sure you've dealt with some D1 athletes that went to some pretty big schools. Like, what would you tell them though on how to navigate stuff?
I don't think it's not that.
well,
simple,
the thing
though.
is, if
I'm just saying what you would tell them.
if I'm meeting them at 17 or 18, the decision is up to them. It's not up to me. I can tell you whatever I want. If you already who you are, if you're already set in that stage, I'm just a dude talking to you. And it's gonna sound good while we in the moment. You may head nod, you may okay, that's cool. But what you choose to do when you leave that conversation is already you.
Yeah.
And if you on the level of a Mikey Williams or Zion Williamson or one of these kids that are like superstars,
Ain't nobody can tell you.
Yes. I mean, I don't think there's no right answer, you know, as far as giving guidance to a kid. It comes down to what's their foundation.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like by 17, 18, parents, coaches, relatives, whoever, they're going to have instilled principles and visions that they already have that they're accustomed to, right, at the base level. But then it's like now you have some people later that they meet later on in life, more so coaches or trainers that can have a stronger influence outside of their inner circle. And so it's like, okay, if this, you know, that you take a kid that has really good foundation principles, it's likely that he's going to make sound decisions, right?
Yeah, right.
But then you take a kid who may not have that resource structure, and then it's like they have the same talent, and then they're just out there and they're by themselves essentially. Now it's like now they have to rely on peers, they have to rely on coaches, and so it just depends. They're not saying they can't make sound decisions, but then it's like the likelihood of them consistently making sound decisions is a lot lower than the kid who has a solid foundation. So I think at the end of the day, it's like always you want to be positive no matter when you meet the kid, right? Or whether they're your kid or not. But then it always comes down to what's the kid's foundation, you know, and then who are their influence when they get to wherever they're going, you know what I'm saying? Because like, honestly, if you have a good foundation, but then you're around a bad influence because you're trying to live a certain lifestyle, like you can flush all that down the window. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's as cut and dry. I mean, you would like to think that it should be, but it's not the reality,
Not the
because
reality, yeah.
you know what I'm saying, we've seen
Yeah.
good kids make bad decisions, now their life is ruined.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you see kids that come from nothing be great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just, at the end of the day, whenever you meet a kid along their journey, as long as you're instilling positivity, like, you can say the same thing to a million kids, and you might only affect 20 kids.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Majority of the kids gonna go one ear and out the other, and some things may stick with certain kids. So as long as you're being a resource, staying positive with the kids, like, the only thing that you can do is just reach out, make sure they're doing good, and then every time you talk to a kid on that certain level, you just gotta positive feedback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Things that can improve on and stuff. But I don't think it's just as cut and dry. I get what you're saying, but I just don't think that's just not the reality in today's climate.
I mean, the NIL, that really don't. That kid from
Yeah.
Pitt, bro, $13 million in NIL
Crazy.
before he even stepped on campus, bro.
I'm going to take another turn, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Regardless of the athlete, because I think there's something bigger to kind of address, is the presumption of innocence for a woman that makes a particular claim, right? Because if we think about it, this woman told her brother that something had happened, and he never questioned whether or not she had the capability of lying, right? Which is what actually happened. She lied about what happened. You know what I mean? And we've seen this time and time again. Same thing with the guy with the Buffalo Bills, right? The kicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
The punter, I mean. This man was about to be a legendary punter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bro was killing it. And all that got stripped of him because of the presumption of innocence based on the allegations, right? And I think too many times in societies, women have the presumption of innocence when making any claim. Not just talking about sexual assault, not just talking about this particular case, but I'm just saying in general. For example, I've watched things on YouTube where there's an experiment done where a woman is hitting a man in public at a mall, and everybody's laughing. What did he do? He must have did something to deserve to get that. If she's hitting him, he did something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they take those same two people and they flip it, and then have him hitting her. And almost immediately, every time, somebody stops him. Hey, what are you doing? You shouldn't do that. No, don't put your hands up. It's the presumption of innocence. Mm-hmm. It's another, and you can look up on YouTube and just go down these rabbit holes of seeing footage of where, I even saw this one time. There was this guy in a gas station's market, and the girl is hitting the guy, and then the guy hits her back, and another guy comes in and beats the brakes out the fucking dude, right? Right. Beat him down, and he was like, "You ain't serious." He's like, "Don't you put your hands on no woman," right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's almost like the presumption, like she can do no wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that's what caused the death, because I feel like if somebody, even if my own sisters, would have come to me and say such and such did that, my natural instinct is go protect. Yep. Mm-hmm. Go protect. Somebody disrespect your sister, you got to fight for them, right? And rightfully so. But in reality, what should happen is, well, tell me what happened.
Yeah. What happened? Right?
Understand the situation.
You tell me what happened, and then I'm going to go and talk to him and get his perspective on what happened. Because we all have been in situations, or some people, I'm sure many people have been in situations, I don't want to say we all, but I'm sure many people have been in situations where the accuser exaggerated what happened, right? A girl said, he pushed me. You're like, no, I didn't. You were trying to rush me, and so I grabbed you to stop you from hitting. I didn't push you. Or she'd be like, you hit me. No, I grabbed you to stop you from hitting me. I saw that you hit me multiple times, so I wanted to get you off me, right? So we have this presumption of innocence that a woman can do no wrong, and we automatically go in to protect. But what if she's the aggressor? What if she, like, I personally watched the whole case. Well, I'm not going to say the whole case, I watched a lot of it because it was all on YouTube. I watched a lot of the case. I watched a lot of the testimony. I watched the brother's testimony, the other guy that got shot. I watched his testimony, watched the officer's testimony, Travis Rudolph's testimony. Like I watched a lot of the case. And so, and throughout that entire time, the part that frustrated me as well was she never showed any remorse. So imagine, now again, this is only what she did over this. I think she was questioned for like 5 hours or some type of hours. But to be on that stage, not stage, but in that chair for that amount of time, and never did she show any remorse to the fact that if you wouldn't have did this, if you wouldn't have said what you said, you wouldn't have lied, you would have a person that's here today, a person that she considered to be a brother. And the reason he's not here is because of you. And she, even Simba, leave it. No, go over there. Sorry, guys, Simba's trying to be in the podcast. But even in the midst, she kept saying, the only reason this happened is because he picked me up and slammed me twice, which was a lie. You could even see it on the ring camera in the video. He never picked you up. He never slammed you. She took a bottle of liquor and busted open his head and all this and was just broke his PlayStation. Like she was going crazy. But all you said was, he picked me up and slammed me on the ground twice, which was a lie. And she never showed any remorse for that. So it's just that's what I kind of saw from it. I'm like, there's this presumption that no matter what, she's innocent.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's crazy because we have moments like these where because of course the first instinct is to protect women. It's always protect women. That's the first instinct, especially from a man. That's just a natural reaction that most men have, especially if you're a big brother or father or whatever. You just go to protect before you even think. And that goes back to the point that you made earlier, DT, about the emotional intelligence and competence.
Yep.
And man, we've been seeing, situations where women they've manipulated that idea of protection, from Emmett to now. You know what I mean? Like we can go through a list of times when women have, used that ideology or that thought that, okay, well, if I say this, I'm going to get this reaction. And so they've used that to, put some people in some tough situations. So I think we have to take some time to really step back and start thinking about the entire situation. Like, especially because when the woman comes with that, she's instilling a feeling in you that makes you want to react. And so her anger turns into y'all anger, which turns into you doing something, and that can lead to people's lives being affected, forever, or a life being taken. And it's like, that's tough, bro. That's tough because it's not an easy answer. It's not like, okay, well, let's not protect women no more. Like it just don't, you know what I'm saying? It don't work like that. But it's like, how do you determine which women are worth protecting, which ones, are like you really, it's such a hard thing to kind of like,
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it's a very slippery slope to where it's and that's one of the things in life that gets kind of hard is when you see the problem and the problem, but there isn't really a clear answer.
Solution. Yeah,
it's just like
what's interesting is that, if you look on certain parts of social media, a lot of people would say that, like black women specifically, this woman was black and he was black, that black women aren't protected. And I think that's false, because I think that black women are protected. And I think most black women know that they're protected, which is why they operate under certain things. That's why they do. That's why she felt that she could hit him. This is an NFL player. This is a grown man. He was like, I think 24 or something like that when this happened, or something like that, in his 20s. He was an NFL player, so he literally physically has to run and get hit by 200 plus pound people on a consistent basis. I feel like if you are going to hit a person that is trained on a day-to-day basis to take on and to hit as hard as they can other grown men, I think the only reason you would do that is because you feel like you have protection. You know that he's not going to hit you back. You know what I'm saying? You know that. The reason why a girl is out talking crazy outside the club to her dude is because she knows she's going to be protected. And she knows all I got to do is call little John's probation officer and you gone. His parole officer and you gone. All I got to do is call the police. They're going to take you away. So I'm going to say and do whatever I want. Because I know I'm protected in that sense. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting because, again, people say like, oh, black women aren't protected. But in my thing, I'm like, black women are very protected. They may not be as protected as white women. Right. But they're protected. You know what I'm saying? Like, they
especially
may not,
in a situation like this.
Yes, you're protected. You're protected. Because imagine if it said, imagine if everything went to chaos. Do you think a woman of any sort would talk to a man that she felt could kill her just like this at the snap of a finger? Do you think she would talk crazy?
Maybe so. Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, because that's what I say. The emotional,
that's the only thing what
I'm thinking about is it could be that she feels protected, but it also could be she crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because some people are crazy in the sense of like they don't even care about their well-being. Like they know, like I know I can't do anything to you. I know I physically can't, but I'm still gonna say whatever I'm gonna say. I'm gonna try to hurt your feelings, and I may even try to fight you, even though I know I can't defend myself if you choose to fight back. To me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think there's a level of, especially for a lot of young women who have like a lot of brothers and whatnot, like it's still a level of responsibility that comes with that too, though, because you're not even taking into consideration, in her case specifically, and you to go hand in hand with your emotional intelligence, right? What are the she didn't even think of the consequences at all. You know what I mean? See, before you sent your brother over there, that let's just say he killed him and just in cold blood. You know what I'm saying? Now he's going to jail for the rest of his life. Did you even think about that before you decided to get on the phone and do what you did? And that's in any situation. That's why even for young men, that emotional intelligence is important to say what happened, what's going on. Try to go talk to him, but they just not wired like
you
that.
Also
bro.
ask yourself, if somebody came up, if your sister says somebody did something to her, would you have that emotional intelligence?
Yeah, it's true. You don't know. You won't know unless you're in that situation.
That's also one of my points of like us being desensitized to where like we don't even care that I may be asking you to spend the rest of your life in jail by doing this for me. I don't even care. It don't matter. It don't.
You do it.
Just do it.
That's like
and to me, in a situation like that, it's like, who cares about what really?
Yeah.
He doesn't care to go take this man's life. She doesn't care to go tell him to take a life. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so nobody's really caring about, because what you said about the responsibility, it's my job as your brother or as your friend or as whatever to keep you in good situations.
Yeah.
If I care about
you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's also my job to keep myself out of bad situations because I know there's people that care about me. And if something bad happens to me, certain people are going to respond a certain way.
Exactly.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like, to me, it's all about the, like, we have to start valuing each other more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to start valuing and loving each other more. Ain't no way I'ma just ask anybody that I'm feel close with or love or care about to go and just risk themselves for something that's avoidable.
Yeah.
Especially if especially over a lie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because the thing is, I'm going to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
It all generated from something that you didn't even say was the actual truth. What happened was you got mad because he was cheating. But you were married.
This is tough.
The
The situation is tough.
You
It's tough.
were married.
It's a tough couple right
Now,
there.
granted, she did say that she was separated from her husband, and she ended up getting a divorce 2 months after that situation happened because she knew in court it wouldn't look good if you was married to somebody. So I don't know but I'm just saying the fact is you were married,
Right.
and you got upset because you were being cheated on. When you never told him you were married, he had no idea that you were married.
It's tough.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you're like, we were separated. I don't know that.
Right.
I didn't even know you were married.
Right.
So you can't be trusted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just, again, like you said, I would never, first off, I'm at a stage in my life where I would never even try to put myself in position like that at all. But that's just maturity. You know, I'm learning now I don't even want to be around people who ain't got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the reason, even when I go out, like if I go to clubs or anything like that, most of the time I'm people watching. Because I'm watching what y'all do.
Yeah.
I know y'all the ones that ain't got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I got something to lose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got something to lose. So I don't like to be around people who ain't got nothing to lose. And because of, I know you're going to do something stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we've been there. We've all been young. We put ourselves in positions to lose it all over nothing, being young and dumb. You know what I'm saying? But like, if I really genuinely care about somebody, why would I want to put your life at risk?
Yeah.
Why would I want you to suffer? Why would I want you to have to spend 30 years in prison? Why would I want you to have to kill somebody and have to live with the fact that you killed somebody for the rest of your life?
Right.
Why would I want you to inflict harm to get rid of somebody because of a temporary emotion? If I really care about you, I'm not gonna do that.
It's crazy like that. We can just let things snowball like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I'm not saying cheating is okay. I'm not saying cheating, you know, I'm not saying none of that, but like, you gotta die though?
Yeah. So I'm saying somebody died over this shit, bro.
Like die? Like you can't just leave me? And you can't just
go
You
find
can't just
it.
slash my tires, bro.
I'm just
Slash tires.
What happened to the slashing my
Nah,
tires,
man,
breaking my windows? What happened to that?
We skipped that.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Execution.
Yeah, keep my car. What happened to that? There's so many different variables that could have happened, and I'm not saying any of those are okay, but
You went to the worst thing
take
possible.
Right, she went
to
straight
take
to
a
the
life.
That's the worst thing that could have happened,
bro.
yeah.
Literally, worst
And
case
the worst thing
scenario
that could have happened.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, how we value and how we look at, because my thing is like, if these people are in a relationship, I'm assuming it was a serious relationship.
Yeah.
To go from this being a person that you lay with every night, you know what I'm saying, to I want them dead because they cheated. I don't know, man. That's an interesting way that we look at things, or somebody can look at things, because it's when it's like that, the whole relationship is probably very unpredictable. You know what I'm saying? If it could go from I love you to I want you to die, that's too extreme. So yeah, bro, that's a tough one. It's tough, and that whole situation's tough. But I mean, I'm glad that man ain't got to spend the rest of his life.
Facts.
Like that.
What's up, Reezy? I see you, man. Appreciate you.
What's happening? What's happening?
Show love.
What's happening?
It's
Tough.
all good.
Tough.
Appreciate you, big dog. You know, yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, man. But you know, obviously, you know, I'm sending healing vibes and energy to everybody involved, because obviously, you know, they need to heal. You know what I'm saying? From personal things. And, you know, I wish, you know, them better times, you know, than what they had. Because, again, a person in life didn't have to. Nobody had to die.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody had to die. You feel me? Appreciate you, Reezy, for checking out the IG. Said he was on the gram and then just peeped it live. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shout out to y'all podcast too.
STB.
Shout out to y'all.
Yes, sir.
Man, we gotta do a collab.
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
You feel me? We with y'all. You know what I'm saying? So definitely showing love there. You know, I don't want to, you know, this is our first time recording live, our first time streaming. So let us know if there's any tips anything like that anybody has for us.
Send some topics.
Yeah,
Yeah,
send
send
some
topics.
topics. Send some
what
topics.
you want us to talk about so we can, continue to keep y'all interested and engaged. And also, if anybody's willing to be featured, we gonna get Black Wall Street, the board game. We gonna get them on here.
Got
You know what I'm
to.
saying? That's a must. We gotta get Uncle Kevin Bracey on here.
Yes,
for
sir.
Sure.
Yes,
we gotta
sir.
have a
Yes,
good
sir.
conversation. So it's a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, Reezy said he down to collab, you know what I'm saying?
Make it
For
happen.
sure. It's definitely love, man. We appreciate you. Appreciate y'all. So let's kind of wrap this up if we can. We got the bro in the building
Oh,
too.
man.
Let's
Oh,
go.
man. Oh, man.
Go.
There he is.
Enterprise.
There he is.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
There he is.
Much
What's
love,
up, brother?
brothers.
Yes,
So
sir.
we just appreciate y'all, you know what I'm saying, joining, you know what I mean? We appreciate you. He said he's glad we're back, man. We appreciate it.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
us too.
Facts.
Us too.
Facts.
man.
So definitely sending love. You know what I'm saying? So any last words that we want to leave the people with, before we close out with this podcast revamp for 2023?
Ooh, man. Grow. Keep growing. Keep learning. Once you stop growing, you start dying. The minute you stop growing is the minute you start dying. So always be open to listening, learning, growth. Continue. Just keep going. I mean, it's life is gonna take you so many different places. It's crazy because I feel like I've lived lives. Like I've lived certain different, lives in certain different points. It's almost like a life. And I wouldn't be able to have navigated through those lives without continuous learning and growth. And I'm still learning and growing from any and everybody. So yeah, just learn, grow, and love yourself, love the people around you. That's what I got.
Shoot, man. Yeah. I mean, something I'm learning, just being transparent too and understanding, like you said, growing, growth, and just keep in mind somebody that said something wise to me is, everything doesn't need a response. Everything doesn't need your energy, because whenever you're always trying to give somebody a piece of your mind, your PIECE, there's no peace, PEACE left for you. So keep that in mind, man. Everything doesn't need a reaction. Remember that whenever you're trying to give someone a piece of your mind, your PIECE, there's no peace, PEACE left for yourself.
Man, I would just say time value, man. Value your time, man. Time is a terrible thing to waste, man. So be intentional, you know what I'm saying? Because every day we live, we closer to the day that we die, man. So you gotta value your time wisely, man. Be intentional with your time.
No doubt. I guess what I would say is love, man. You know what I'm saying? Lupe Fiasco had this he had this thing where he had this album called Lasers that came out back in I remember maybe 2013 or something like that. And Laser stood for love always shines every time. Remember to smile. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to let y'all know, man, lead with love, bro. No matter what you do, continue to grind. There's always gonna be, ups and downs. I talked about this on my Wise Word Wednesday, that life is volatile. Like you're gonna have your highs of highs, and you're gonna have your lows of lows. But just know that it's never gonna be that way. You know what I'm saying? Consistently. It's going to be sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. If you can just get through it and understand that love is going to get you further than hate will, love will get you further than anger will, love will get you further than anything. Just continue to love, man, because there's people out here that are hurting, people out here that are suffering, and there's people out here that wish they were where you are right now. You know what I'm saying? I promise you there's somebody out there that wish they was where you are. The other thing I do want to say is rest in peace to Monique, my sister. This is 9 years ago. She lost her life today, so we definitely sending nothing but love. You know what I'm saying? I know that she would be proud of what's going on in our family, what's been happening in the heights that we've been able to reach. So I definitely want to make sure that we send love to her. So shout out to Monique. Rest in peace, rest in power, and understand that we're gonna keep it pushing because we got a family to take care of. And we're going to continue to do that for you. But I appreciate y'all for helping us by watching us. Continue to send comments, post, let us know Give us topics that you want us to talk about. Send us people that you want, because with this new platform that we're using through StreamYard, we can actually have virtual meetups, so you don't physically have to be in Northern California to be able to be on the podcast. We want to have some good conversation. We want to keep you engaged. We want to keep you interested and involved. So if there's a way that we can improve, let us know. None of us are professional engineers. None of us are professional cameramen. We're all doing this with our spare time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of other stuff. We got a lot of other stuff going on. I promise you. So I appreciate y'all. Give us any tips and any feedback that you can. This was our first live streaming for the podcast. The first one. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you like. Make sure that you comment and you share. Of course, we will do the same if you have one podcast as well too. I think that's pretty much it, y'all. Huh?
Yep. Yes, sir.
FYB presents the Ivy League.
Ha ha!
We fresh. Love.
Love.